Gene, how are you doing?
I'm well, Arvind. How are you?
Doing very well. Great to have you here again back for what are what has become now a tradition, annual fireside chat. So we are day number two, Monday, what we call is a crazy Monday at NRF. So coming in, I know you probably have been drinking from a fire hose with a number of meetings and the conversations that I know you get dragged into. So what are some of the things that you're seeing coming in January 2026? Uh, some of the things, especially let's get the monkey out of the hat, AI. So what are some of the things, initial things that you are seeing or your observations?
It's interesting because, first of all, tons of energy here at the show this year. A lot of people on the floor. Like you said, a lot of meetings. We still are in lack the fire for our fireside chat, so we'll have to work on improving that. Maybe we'll get an AI fire for next year. But on AI, first of all, just about everybody at the conference who isn't selling a hardware device, and even them, are talking about AI, but they're really now pivoting to talking about agentic AI. If you think about, generative AI as a concept, a public concept, is 3 years and 3 months old. And if we start thinking about that evolution, this year we're not talking about large language models, we're talking about agents. And across the show, everybody seems to have an agent solution. As a matter of fact, some of the big vendors are flirting with almost renaming themselves with agent in their name. The reality, though, is there's a lot difference between the promise and the outcome, because we aren't seeing people really building good business cases, good use cases around those agents. We're just seeing agent development. So I think we're still more of a hype cycle on agentic. That being said, I think the way that agentic AI is going to change the way we think about software deployment, software use, is going to be larger than the way we change our thinking at the introduction of the internet and the .com era.
Wow. Yeah, that's very fundamental. And you make a point about for 3 years, business, industry, and as an extension, the solution providers, they have been on a high ever since the AI, aha moment had a world moment with the launch of ChatGPT that everybody certainly wants to become, needs to become, and at the moment apparently has already become AI advised agentic ecosystem based retailer. But then the question comes back is, as you know, Gene, Jesta, over 55 years, we have been helping our clients, retail clients, many of them are vertical brands, to get their house in order by getting the data in a place where the data can actually be relied on to make some insightful, meaningful, educational decisions, which with AI could be then automated. But then the question then goes back to is, unless a retailer doesn't have foundational applications, whether it is in head office or supply chain or in store or in direct to consumer business, doesn't matter. What's your view that how likely would be their quote unquote retail AI advisor agents insights would be if they don't have the data that is reliable? And what should they be doing as a step one?
I think we've seen this challenge for decades now. There are point solutions that get deployed at retailers, each of which has its idea of data and its construct around data. And what we've created in retail is we've gone from silos to control towers, which are really silos with software and big moats. And the data sits there. So if you want to really be an agentic retailer, to use that catchphrase, you need to unify the data. You need to make sure that the data from all the applications, from all the constituent parties in your enterprise, is readily accessible. Because for AI to really work, I need to be able to drive the model where I can see data from a warehouse, I can see data from a store, I can see data from a planner or from finance. So I can then use agents and large language models to query that data to get the right insights. And the payoff is not just the insights, it's the ability to take action, the execution. And that's what changes here. It's no longer thinking about data as an insight, it's thinking about data as something that drives an activity. And that's where agentic really pays off. But until a retailer comes to grip with their data foundation, whether by using an application like Jesta to really power that data across the enterprise, or using a hyperscaler model where they put all their data into one of the large hyperscalers, they're not really prepared to use agentic AI or AI at all across the enterprise because they can't get the view into the data they need because it's all in different places, different languages, behind different barriers. So you're right, getting the data house in order is probably one of the two key steps. And I would say that to jump into the next piece, the second step is why? Why are you doing this? What is your target model? How are you going to run your business? And why would you care about those insights and what AI can tell you? If you can come up with a business case for it, now you've got the potion, you've got data, you've got a reason. Now you can drive forward with AI and agentic AI.
So that's a great point. Now, in terms of, you and I have been around, and you have been around long enough, advising retailers, brands, global enterprises, and we have heard this point before, that what is the objective that you're driving for whatever the project it may be? I think what you're saying is, with AI, that objective is still required. That has to be the centerpiece before you start and headlong in the path of onboarding and becoming an agentic agents retailer overnight. The results may not be good at all if you don't have a good, clear alignment on the objective at all levels of the enterprise. Is that what you're kind of thinking?
That's what I'm saying. So if you think about the history of technology adoption in retail, a lot of it winds up being there is a buzz about something. Early in the dot-com days, there were stories, and I had clients who purchased dot-com solutions for their business, their first 1.0 web business, at cocktail parties, based on a sales pitch over a martini and not a board presentation about ROI. We saw that with the advancements of security. We saw that with the advancements of order management and distributed order management and the whole ship from store. All those waves started with people saying, well, so-and-so is doing it, so I need to do it. And as those have matured out and have focused on profitable outcomes, those businesses have started to say, why do I do that behavior? How does it help my customer? How does it help my margin and profitability? For AI to really succeed for these retailers, they have to get past the, gosh, everybody else is doing it, so I should, to the, I run this type of business. I want it to evolve to be this kind of enterprise using these kind of efficiencies. And this is why AI will help. AI will help me with the customer service aspect by being able to answer questions better through the agents. AI will help me in building my assortment so I can more target what my customer will actually want. AI will help me in cost containment. Whatever those use cases are, they need to be defined, documented, and vetted before we go down the path. There are some studies, MIT being the most notable, says in excess of 85%, and some studies say 95% of artificial intelligence spend in the last 24 months has been wasted money. Wow. ROI, right? So AI is the future. I don't think anybody's going to doubt that, but we have to ask ourselves as retailers, when we're running 2, 3, 4% net profit businesses, do we have the extra money? We'll throw away 95 cents on every dollar that we spend, or do we want to spend the time with trusted partners and understand what I can achieve, figure out the business case, and then take methodical action to do that? Because that's the way businesses that succeed are going to do it. That 5% tend to be the businesses out there like the Walmarts of the world who know where they want to go before they start the journey.
You're spot on, right? This is out in the media, every journal you open, which we have seen this over the years, whether it is stock market or high street, the FOMO, the fear of missing out. So now it seems to be very clear that in the retail enterprises, the brands, FOMO is driving some of the rush, which everybody thinks is a gold rush of AI. But your point is that with the data that is coming out, one has to kind of take a teeny bit step back and get the objectives in line and see where the enterprise is today and where they want to take it, and then build a little bit. Are you calling kind of build a roadmap for AI adoption? Yeah. So go ahead,
No,
please.
go ahead. So that, and I think it's good for us to step back and say, why are retailers in the business, right? Retailers exist, and I'm sorry if this sounds pedantic, but retailers exist to match a product to a customer demand profitably with a satisfied customer, right? So that journey, right? I have something I want to sell. Somebody wants it. They buy it, and I make money selling it to them, and then they're happy with it. Retailers don't exist to have the shiniest new object, to have the flashiest dashboard. They exist for that simple process. So if we go back and say, what can we do from a roadmap to enable that process to be better at every point along the journey? How can we create more customer satisfaction? How can we create more profitability? How can we find better products in a timely fashion? Then we've got use cases that we can build around. Now, it just becomes part of your business plan. It just becomes a thing you do rather than a shiny object that you chase. And a lot of retailers have suffered from chasing the shiny object, right? So that 95% wasted spend for AI across all industries, that retailers can't afford that. We work with retailers every day. We're trying to figure out how to do more with less, and they can't afford wasted spend. So I would say you're right, spot on. A roadmap, a reason, a case for change before I start investing in it is the right thing. And then the next step is find a trusted partner, find a trusted platform, find somebody who understands your business, but has translated that into tools around artificial intelligence. There are, you wouldn't buy a retail planning application from Tesla. That's not what they do. But you would buy a car because that is what they do. So you think about that. So there are a lot of people in the space who are trying to sell AI who don't know what we do in retail.
Yeah, this is absolutely, I think, spot on. And with a little bit of, hey, sanity check, for the lack of a better word, no, I don't think it's pedantic at all. The lessons and the very basic reason why any brand, any entrepreneur exists is to have the product for which either, unless you're Apple, that you can actually find a customer and match the customer with the product and make some profit along the way, and ideally do something good for the environment as well. So in that sense, going back to a couple of points before, you mentioned that the retailers, their house in order the data. So if I'm a retailer and running on premise, would you recommend that they allow and potentially partner with solution provider like Jesta, get it onto the cloud, and then have the data in one place, and then be able to have some models that are running against that proprietary data, and then come back with meaningful, tangible, actionable insights that are in line with the business objective they have. These, that kind of becomes a little of.
That's absolutely the entry point, right? So if you think about these large language models that sit underneath AI, and then you've got machine learning and you've got other AI, but if you think about LLMs themselves, which is really what's powering this wave of generative AI and agentic, these are not things that the average retail enterprise can afford to do themselves. These are massive investments, right? With potentially trillions of combinations in their models. So these are cloud opportunities. The cloud offerings can expand and contract based on your desire to do the work and to need the compute. So yes, you find a partner like Jesta who has a cloud application stack. You make the journey to the cloud with your data, with your applications. This is not an on-prem conversation. And embrace the cloud. That will give you the speed and scalability you need to be able to get these answers. Very few retailers can afford, $100 million, $200 million data center investment. You think about the processors that are running AI. NVIDIA sells the chipset for $35,000 to $55,000 each, right? Yeah. So this is a cloud conversation. This is perhaps the killer application in the cloud, because we can make an argument that on-prem has worked for all these different applications, but now for this level of computation, you need the cloud. And you need a provider like a Jesta who's already made the investment in the cloud, who's native in the cloud to be able to take it.
Yeah, we are seeing absolutely on the same side that this is the killer app, AI as an idea for which the time has come. And this is the one that's going to push the envelope for whatever reasons enterprises are keeping the data in-house to be open to cloud, because AI needs the horsepower and the scale with the data that is exploding exponentially on a daily basis to have the cloud infrastructure in place to be able to have inside the that retailers are seeking. But now a couple of more questions. I know we have before we sign off the fireside chat today. The one is, the last couple of days, I have personally have had chats with so many client CEOs. Some of them are brand owner CEOs. And one thing that I'm hearing from some of them is that they want to have AI, the owner CEOs, but they're saying their staff, it's a family-owned business that has grown over the years. The staff is on the eggshells and afraid that certainly they're going to become irrelevant with the AI adoption. Therefore, what I'm hearing is that they are not trying to come into the conversation. So, what would be your advice to these entrepreneurs, CEOs? How do they get their staff to be reassured that AI is not going to make them irrelevant? It's going to only make them better, and they should embrace this idea, this conversation. So how would you recommend that?
You know, it's interesting because I've had conversations with CIOs myself who've been talking about the CEOs. And the philosophy, I think that's the winning philosophy, is human-led, AI-assisted, right? These businesses have, for lack of a better term, they have a soul. They have a brand statement. And look, if we let AI just run our retail businesses, we'll all be wearing matching outfits like in Star Trek. That's what happens, right? It's optimal. It has stretch fit. It's easy to wash. That's not what we want. In apparel and consumer products, there's differentiation. And this is driven by a human understanding of what other humans do. So human-led, AI-assisted. Family businesses, here's the value. And in businesses that you're worried, people are worried about losing their job. This is not about replacing people. This is about creating a higher level of efficiency. So as you grow, you may not grow the people as rapidly, but you can get more productivity from the people you have. I think that the companies that are chasing AI to eliminate people are going to, to use the term, they're going to go from beyond from cutting fat to cutting muscle and bone, because they'll lose the spirit instead of the business. So think of it this way: human-led, human in the loop, AI-assisted. The AI is that extra piece of work that we've had to do after regular hours, on weekends. It's that you get that last minute request from some leader that you have to now rebuild all of your work. It's taking some of that away. It should reduce the stress for the teams. And really, the promise of AI is I should be able to get better at what I do. And that's now, not everybody's pushing that way, but if you think about human-led, AI-assisted, that's not about the machines taking over. That's about, what is our reticence to use a cell phone that's a lot more efficient than using a desk phone and a separate calendar. We've adopted technologies, and there have been changes in how we've staffed the world. There are no telephone operators the way they used to be. But that doesn't mean we have fewer people actively doing things. It just means that we've reshaped the economy. And AI is that opportunity. Not to oversell it, but it's filtering itself into our world, whether we like it or not. AI is on our devices. When I'm working on my work, AI is part of my research toolkit. It's part of my get rid of that blank sheet of paper when I'm authoring something. I'm not letting it write for me. I'm letting it give me some ideas like a good muse would. So what I would say to those C-level people is, if you have a plan and you know what the outcome is, and it's not purely just get rid of people, it's about great efficiencies, become better in your markets, be able to react better to supply chain shocks. AI can help you grow your business and grow your people at the same time.
Yeah, this is fantastic. And this is the point I think we are we take it to us. Everybody has responsibility to say, It's an AI assisted, human led.
Yes.
That's the key element I'm not hearing enough. So maybe part of this is that some of those hyperscalers are trying to make it look like that the bots will run the business, but bots can't run the humans. As you mentioned, very starting point is retail exists for one reason and one reason, matching entrepreneurs who have the product or the idea with the humans on the other side. So it's a human to human relationship for centuries. And I think what you are saying is that, and I agree 100%, that human in the loop is going to be fundamental. And for the enterprises, if they don't recognize, if they don't amplify or they don't evangelize that, they are not going to be, they're going to probably end up in the 95% of wasted AI investment. Two more points before we sign off. We are 2026. You come to NRF, you're saying, look, everybody somehow seems to be already AI ready, AI on board. Every solution provider seems to have some sort of AI solutions. What do you think is going to be NRF January 2030? How do you see, do you think it's going to be still all conversation about AI? Or what's the crystal ball?
So, there's a couple possibilities. It could be all conversations about AI, and we could be still wading waist deep into the promises. Another view of the future, and I've heard this articulated by the CEO of Microsoft, is that we'll be journeying into a post-software world. That doesn't mean software is going to cease to exist, but those companies that solve the AI equation now will be the companies on the floor at NRF, but they won't necessarily be selling monolithic, massive software solutions. They'll be selling a menu of agents that are connected to data at the enterprise level to drive their business. The same level of knowledge will need to exist in a Jesta version 2030 as does today, but it may look different the way it gets deployed, the way we think about it, right? Now, all that being said, 25 years ago, everybody said RFID was going to take over the world, right? And at this point in time, as far as I can tell, RFID near field communication, it's in my credit card payments and it's my bag tag at Delta. Otherwise, it hasn't changed my life. But I think in 2030, we'll see some of the same buzz. And by the way, retail loves the next big thing. So whatever it is, it'll be holographic salespeople in 2030. But agents, agentic AI, pretty much here to stay. And I think that they're going to evolve a different paradigm for the average software provider. And those that adopt the data first agent with a business case will be the ones that we'll be talking to. We'll be doing Fireside Chat 2030.
Thank you so much. Agreed. And we're going to look forward to that. I think the point you made in that is we could agree on that for sure, that come 2030, the days of monolithic, isolated, siloed applications, disconnected universe are going to be in the rear view for sure. And if not, those businesses, those enterprises will no longer be relevant. So it's going to become hyper connected in many ways, but also with the hyper efficient perhaps, because quite frankly, with the way world is heading, efficiency and productivity probably is going to be the one that's create the most amount of wealth for all humanity, more than that has been done before, but humans will be absolutely in the loop. Thank you so much, Gene. Looking forward to next time. Fireside Chat.
Always a pleasure.
Likewise, thank you.